Hey everybody, this is Scoots here. This is a minisode. It's been a little while since we put out a minisode, and things have not gone well since then. I'll be honest. I mean, I did get moved across the country. I'm still getting settled in. I don't have a set place to record yet, and my hand is still healing. But the thing is, there's so many amazing people that help out on the podcast behind the scenes. That's the only way that the episodes have continued to come out is because of their hard work. Just like last year when my mom and Carl W., who worked on the show, they made a journey across the Rainbow Bridge. And each time, you know, it was a big change. And my ability to show up and make the podcast or to produce it ahead of time was only because of the people that work on the podcast besides me, that put a lot of hard work into the show. So I hope you're listening right now, you know, whatever your style listening. I mean, this message is, anybody can partake in it, just like our last one. We're going to root for those super listeners because we need the people whose lives have been changed by the podcast to support it, if they're in a position to support the show and if they're willing. And we could get there, and the show could continue to go on. Like, as I try to get settled in this new phase of my life now, we could continue to keep making the show. But the stakes are, if we don't get that support, what'll happen is I'll keep them people that work on the show working on the show, and I'll step away from the podcast. I mean, that's just the stakes, really. But I don't want that to happen, and it does not need to happen. And I want to lay out the stakes honestly, but I'm so tired of constantly, like last month I tried to use a purely positive message and we lost subscribers. And that's happened every single time I've tried to only go positive, which is just really tiring for me. And I don't want to keep just harping on the stakes. Oh, the podcast is going to us be behind a paywall. But I got to figure out a way to get through to people too. So I don't want to be negative, right? I want to focus on this idea that we're all rooting for one another. So what I'm going to do coming up here in this Minnesota, I'm going to read some quotes from listeners. I'm going to bust one myth about the podcast that I've been trying to bust for a while and other messages. And we're going to have one subsection of listeners we're going to root for every single month. But here's the thing. If you listen all night long, or you fall asleep fast and you just glaze over this message, the podcast will do, like those are the two groups. The podcast can't survive without more people that fall asleep fast and people that listen all night long supporting it, as well as people that listen 3, 4, 5, 6 nights a week, and people that have been listening for over a year. Those are the groups we need. If your life has been changed by Sleep With Me, we need your support. Now, you're more than welcome if you can't support the show or you just don't want to for whatever reason. You're more than welcome to support the show by rooting, by sending energy, positive energy, rooting, just like in sports, cheering that there's a person listening right now, whether they fall asleep fast, they listen all night long. Maybe you're the person. Or maybe you're rooting for that person and they're going to support the show ever. And the higher the stakes get, right? Just root harder. Maybe you already support the show and you're hearing this. Just root for those other people to experience the same positive things you've experienced. I mean, Sleep With Me Plus was built with super listeners in mind. That's why most people that support the show on Sleep With Me Plus stick around for a long time, because it's built with them in mind. But I need you. If you're not going to support the show for whatever reason, all the reasons are valid. I need you to really root hard that we get some support here, right? Because you could partake in this. And last month we did get some signups. We just more people cycle out. That's why we constantly ask for support. But Tiffany said, "Hey, I decided to support the show because I'm trying to support small businesses and things when I can. Just because you can get something free doesn't mean you should. I know if I have trouble sleeping, I just have to listen. I'll be out in no time. And that's definitely worth a few dollars a month. Thanks for all you do and for being an awesome human." And then John had this message. "I had no idea. And in retrospect, now seeing all of your efforts to solicit some kind of pulse from us super listeners It's not just a little embarrassing that I had no idea. Just how urgent it has become to share back some of the value we've received. I've signed up and done a little bit more, and I know you're going through stuff with your hand and in discomfort, and I think there's something in here about the irony that I'm having trouble sleeping. I see and feel how much you love doing this podcast as your vocation. I'm going to do my part to try to keep that a reality. I finally got the memo. I'd inadvertently placed myself in some sort of side channel where I didn't get the message. Thank you to you and the whole Sleep With Me crew. I'd like to thank you for making such a wonderful place to sleep to. All the little things you do that put into the show, it comes through. Words are cheap. I'm going to support the show. Here's crossing my fingers that we can get past that 1,000 mark by October. Michelle wrote, "Hey, Scoots, sorry it took a long time to reply. My kids and I love the personalized message. I subscribe to your show because it's like cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia and a sleep aid all in one. And those things are expensive, and you deserve to be rewarded for the service you do. I also consider your show to be somewhat of an art form, and I believe in compensating artists for their work. Thank you for all you do." And Tiffany said, "Thanks, Scooter. I'm a busy person working full-time and a full-time caregiver. And we discovered the podcast together, and the ad-free content makes a huge difference." So those are some of the people who I tried to get through to next month and who heard me and listened. And that's okay if you're just hearing me or paying attention for the first time. It just matters what you do right now. Decide if you're going to support the show or if you're going to root for someone else out there really hard that they're, man, I hope you're listening. Because I struggle with shows change my life for the better, and I count on it. So I need someone else out there to support the show. I'm rooting for them. All right, here's the myth-busting part, right? There's a myth out there with all of podcasting that podcasts get funding from outside of the shows. And there are some podcasts out there that are owned by network or platforms. But for most podcasts, there's no mysterious funding. We don't get money from the platforms for our shows being on there. We don't get compensated for them. We don't have mystery funding. Almost all the funding for Sleep With Me and most other podcasts, most of it comes from listener support on places like Sleep With Me Plus or whatever membership platform the show uses. Comes out of pocket for a lot of podcasters. And then the next way is like direct response advertisers, which mean the advertisers sponsor the show based on how many listeners respond and buy their products or their services. And then we have other smaller funding sources like automated ads, which we switched to a couple of years to make up these gaps, and a couple other smaller things. But it really comes down to the show exists because of listeners who've decided to support the show back and take action. So here's the invitation, right, that we've been talking about. This is where I do want to stay positive, right? Here's where your choices, and you could, it's a multiple choice, right? You could root for someone else to get a good night's sleep. You could root for someone else to support the show. You could receive that rooting, right? Whether it's supporting the show or whether it's just getting a good night's sleep. Another all-night listener, another person who falls asleep fast, or anybody. You just want somebody to be rooting for you right now in the deep, dark night. Well, they are. Or maybe you're the person that says, yeah, I'm gonna do those, and now I'm going to support the show. But now we're going to do another community thing. Everybody can participate in this one. And we're going to do this monthly. Like this month, we're rooting for anybody impacted by the back-to-school season. Could be bus drivers, students, teachers, parents, anybody dealing with traffic, anybody impacted by this change of year. It could be just a change of the seasons impacts you. We're rooting for you. Let's root for everybody right now. Back to school. Back to school. Back to school. Get some sleep. I don't know. That's kind of like a chirp. Back to school. Back to school. Back to school. Get some sleep. So we're rooting for you. And it feels good. I mean, making the show and this change I made in the intros the last couple of years of rooting for other people in the deep, dark night, it feels good to get it. And it feels good to give it because my past 3 months, my sleep has been really, really impacted. And knowing and hearing from listeners that are rooting for me to get some sleep, despite what's going on with my hand, despite what's going on with Koa, despite transition after transition, knowing there's people rooting for me to get a good night's sleep, it helps. And rooting for other people, whether they're dealing with what I'm dealing with or something totally different. They're a student or a teacher, a bus driver, a lunch person, whatever it is, we're rooting for you in the deep, dark night. We're also rooting, though, if you're still here and you're a super listener, the podcast has changed your life, and you haven't decided or are unable to support the show, to please consider supporting the show right now. We really do need the support, and there's a lot of people rooting for you if you're the one listening to support the show right now at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. But it's going to be something self-fulfilling, because when you sign up, if you're a super listener and you get all the feeds set up and you start checking everything out, it's going to deepen your relationship with the show. You know, because most people that sign up at Sleep With Me Plus, they stick around because it's built with super listeners in mind. And you can even try it out and cancel, or try it out and or stick around for a few months, and if you no longer listen, cancel. And you can do all that. We're rooting for you to do it right now at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks.